Welcome to SEC Softball on this Monday night, the series finale between number 19 Missouri and number 6 Arkansas. The Tigers have won the first 2 games of the series. They are going for their first ever sweep of a 3-game series against a top 10 opponent. It's Arkansas's final home series. Arkansas still in first place in the standings. They are a game ahead of Florida. Hard-charging Missouri also in the picture, just 2.5 back. And remember, Alabama, you want to be in that top 4 to get the double bye in the upcoming SEC tournament. And we welcome you to Fayetteville, Arkansas. Pam Ward along with former National Player of the Year at Arizona, Jenny Dalton-Hill. And Jenny, we were very excited, much anticipated series coming in. But so far, the results and certainly the lack of the big bats for Arkansas has been a surprise.
Pam, if you had told me we would only see 4 hits out of Arkansas in the first 2 games, I would not have believed you. Missouri offense, on the other hand, totally different story. 24 hits, 16 runs, 5 home runs, and 4 of them came in game 2. Started in the 2nd inning. First batter, long drive, Kayla Kessinger, home run number 1. With 1 runner on in the 4th, Kendall Bailey, the number 8 hitter in the lineup. The big hit, Missouri home run number 2. The 6th inning really got away from Arkansas. Bases loaded. Brooke Wilmus. That's right, it's a granny. Grand slam to center. Missouri home run number 3. Kim Wirt added another home run for Missouri in the 7th. The final score of game 2, 10-1. It would be the 8th win over a top 25 team this season for Mizzou.
And Mary Haff started in game 1 for Arkansas, was the loser in that game, and she gets the ball again this evening.
Yeah, Mary Haff attacks the zone. A veteran in the circle, has a really floaty changeup, does not give away a lot of free passes, just 31 walks in 147 and a third innings pitched. But to be successful, you cannot fall prey to that rise ball.
And this Missouri lineup, boy, they are red hot. Wilmus getting ready to start things off. She had the grand slam yesterday. Missouri now number 1, overtaking Kentucky, hitting .338 as a team, the best hitting team average-wise in the SEC. First pitch is over for a strike. Kayla Green behind the plate as usual for this Arkansas Razorback team. But Brooke Wilmus, boy, in this series, has 2 hits, including the grand slam last night. And Haff is going right after her.
Gets ahead early, uses that rise ball. Now that she's ahead in the count, expect to see that rise ball up in the zone, try to get these Missouri hitters in their heads, climb the ladder, swing and miss pitcher. Mary Haff, tough rise ball.
Wilmus able to hold off the appeal down to third. It was not a swing. So a 1-2 pitch on the way to Wilmus. Called just off the corner. It's Chad Steers behind the plate this evening, calling balls and strikes. 2-2 count. Wilmus goes down swinging. Good start for Haff. Take a look at the Arkansas defense behind Haff. Braxton Burnside over at short. Usually a solid up the middle, but Burnside had an error last night in game 2. Keely Huffine had 2 in the same inning, which is highly unusual for her. Jenna Laird, the freshman, who is hitting .435 on the season, second only to Kayla Kowalik, who's hitting .526 for Kentucky. She is off to a great start, 4 for 8 in this series. Missouri as a team is hitting .358 in this series. They have 3 players hitting at least .500. Marisa Anderson, in her 3rd year, has done a stunningly good job rebuilding this program, and that is stung right to Mary Haff, who hangs on for out number 2.
Haff has definitely changed up her look. We are used to knowing Haff up in the zone, using the rise ball for the swing and the miss, but right now really using that outside corner. Missouri ahead of it. Because of it, it's not squared up. Haff able to glove it for out number 2.
Nice play by Haff, who is One of the top 25 finalists for National Player of the Year, along with Braxton Burnside, her shortstop. Here's Hattie Moore, the catcher. She just has 1 hit and 4 strikeouts in this series. Got a good hold of that one. Moore was hitless in a game where Half went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, to get her 4th loss against 20 wins on the season. Half's 20 wins this year, tied for first in the SEC with Ashley Rogers at Tennessee. She's gotten ahead of all 3 hitters and struck out 2 of them. Just the start Arkansas needed after losing the first 2 games of this series. Scoreless as we go to the bottom of the first. Welcome back, Mary. Half sent the side down in order in the top of the first, so game 1 starter Jordan Weber getting ready to throw for the Tigers.
Jordan Weber has a similar look to Half. She'll be up in the zone as well, rise to all quadrants. She's got darting late movement, but with a changeup that lacks command. A hitter only needs to worry about it when she is behind, or when Weber is ahead in the count. So really, changeup, it's only going to matter if you fall prey to those pitches up in the zone.
And this is the lineup she will face. Hannah Mcewen back. Yes, she is called the best leadoff hitter in the country by her head coach, Courtney Deifel, but she is back hitting leadoff for the first time since the series against Auburn to start in April. 8 straight games. Hannah has been in the 3 hole, in part to protect Burnside, but Coach Deifel has put her back at leadoff.
And I actually really like that move to Mcewen down behind Burnside. She has a ton of RBI potential, really high average, 4 home runs on the year. So for Mcewen back behind Burnside, she protected her really well, but they're looking for a little bit more of a spark up in that leadoff slot.
Well, Mcewen, like Gamble, who is flip-flopped in the order with the other Hannah. Gamble will bat 3rd. Neither Hannah has a hit. They're both a combined 0 for 8 in this series. Mcewen has scored a run, on a couple of walks, just a little shake-up to try to get things going, and she gets on with the base on balls. The defense for Missouri, one of the best going. That is one of the points of emphasis for head coach Larissa Anderson. They have the 2nd fewest errors in the SEC. Only Florida has committed fewer, and Kendall Bailey made some plays. Shomo over in left field. Some spectacular plays in the field for this series. But right now, can Braxton Burnside get it going? Burnside has been shut down in this series. A combined 0 for 5. Her 37-game on-base streak was snapped yesterday. Did draw a walk in game 1, did not get on base in game 2.
And right now, Weber unable to locate that rise ball. Arkansas showing great discipline on that ball up in the zone, knowing that they can chase Weber out of this game if they just stay disciplined off that pitch up at the letters.
2-0 pitch on the way to Burnside. Takes that one high. It's 3-0.
Yeah, and Burnside, one of those very disciplined hitters. When you are a power hitter like Braxton Burnside, there's a lot of times you'll press if you haven't gotten a hit as of late. Burnside stays very disciplined.
Takes that one for a strike. She thought it was a bit high. Burnside has drawn 34 walks on the season. That is 3rd best in the SEC. All right, she is very disciplined, does not strike out a lot. That one is definitely ball 4. So back-to-back walks to start things off for the Razorbacks. Courtney Deifel, 6th year in charge at Arkansas, has taken them to the last 3 NCAA tournaments that were played, and taking them to number 6 in the country, their highest ranking ever. But again, they have dropped the first 2 games of this series.
And while Oklahoma City may be foreign to these Arkansas Razorbacks, it is not a foreign place to Courtney Deifel, able to win a national championship as a player out of Cal back in 2002. That's exactly where she wants this team to go, find their way to Oklahoma City.
She was a very good catcher for the Cal Bears. Courtney Scott, known then, that was her maiden name. And now here's a chance. Gamble again flipping with Mcewen, now number 3 in the lineup. 2 on and nobody out. Gamble, one of the Arkansas natives on this team, missed an entire month after breaking her hand and has come back very strongly. Looking for her first hit of this series, but that's true of all but 3 players for Arkansas. Only 3 players have gotten hits for this team in this series. Gibson, Green, and Monzo, that's it. That's pounded! And it worked out. Hannah Gamble dropped from 1st to 3rd in the lineup. A 3-run shot for the Razorbacks.
Gamble may just be a freshman, but she stands in that box with so much poise and discipline. This ball on the outside part of the plate, Weber struggling to find the strike zone in the first 2 batters, leaves it too big for a big hitter like Gamble. That is her 8th home run of the year.
85th for Arkansas. They lead the SEC in home runs. And a great start for the Hogs. And the opposite for Jordan Weber. So Jordan Weber lasts only 3 batters. Megan Schumacher, who started game 2 yesterday, gets the ball already. 3-0 Arkansas. We are back in Fayetteville. Starting pitcher Jordan Weber lasted all of 3 batters, 2 walks, and then the home run. So Megan Schumacher enters for the Tigers.
And Schumacher is going to throw a little bit harder than what we saw Weber throwing, and the difference is she's a drop ball pitcher, so expect to see the ball down in the zone, so a different look and hopefully a better strike zone for Missouri. We've noticed that Missouri does not stick with one pitcher throughout one game, and that's not to say that Weber is not a good pitcher, but one of the things that Larissa Anderson talks about is Susie Allstaff, their pitchers in the circle.
And Danielle Gibson greets her with the dinger. Gibson goes oppo, back-to-back homers for Arkansas.
Well, Pam, when we were looking ahead at this series and the games that we would be calling here, we expected to see a lot of home runs. Arkansas has been silenced, only 2 home runs leading into this one, but now back-to-back jacks. Danielle Gibson, her 15th home run of the year. She makes it look easy, going the other way, and another souvenir for a Razorback fan out there in left.
Gibson's 2nd home run of the series. She had a 3-run homer off Jordan Weber in game 1, but that was the only runs that Arkansas was able to scratch together. They had 2 hits in each of the first 2 games. 2 hits in this inning, both of them home runs. This looks like the Arkansas team that we've been seeing pretty much all season. Here's Lenny Malkin. Arkansas in the first 2 games of this series hitting .089, 4 for 45. With 2 home runs. 2 of their 4 hits were home runs. Malkin has yet to get a hit in this series. She's behind 1-2. Retreating from second base, Bailey grabs it for the very first out of the inning. Kendall Bailey made a couple of spectacular plays at second yesterday. This is a team that is built on defense. Now they're starting to hit the ball. The question mark for them has been their pitching. You mentioned that it's really, if there's ever such a thing as pitching by committee, it is this Missouri 2021 team. Kayla Green had a solo homer yesterday. Coach Larissa Anderson coining the phrase Susie Allstaff. Not a human being, but not one individual, but her entire team. And they do not have an ace. Green puts a charge into one. Goes to the wall. Kayla Green with a long single.
It looks like Arkansas went back to the drawing board, had a little conversation with their coaching staff about how to be disciplined, what pitches they could eliminate coming out of the circle, and knowing that Schumacher's a drop ball pitcher, you can be a lot more aggressive, knowing that if you miss hit, it's going to create a ground ball and you can potentially run that one out. But both of these teams really focusing on hitting the ball hard, not focusing on the home run, even though they come all the time.
Monzo to the wall. Sends Green over to third. Runners on the corners with just one away.
Pam, one of the things we were talking about before this game was, do you think that Missouri can sweep Arkansas? And I really struggled to believe that that could happen, knowing that Arkansas is so gritty, knowing how Coach Deifel has really seasoned this team with belief and late fight. Very uncharacteristic in the first two games, and they've really come out in this first inning angry and something to prove.
They have 4 hits in this inning. That's as many as they had in their first 2 games combined. And they're still only one away. Keely Huffine, is up for Arkansas, and one of her fortes is sack bunts, and you saw her try to get one down in this situation. That is hit to the third baseman, Wirt, who looked Green back at third to get the second out of the inning. Arkansas has sent everybody to the plate in this first inning. Sam Torres, the center fielder, who had been doing some of the leadoff work in this season. Last few games has been in the number 9 spot. Monzo down at second, Green at third. Called at the knees for a strike.
And Pam, you mentioned how Torres had been a leadoff hitter earlier in this season. That came because of injuries and COVID protocols. So with Mcewen out with COVID protocols, Hannah Gamble with a broken hand, Torres took over that leadoff spot, did a really good job of filling in while both of those 2 big players were out.
Torres also very good in the field, out in center for this team. She is down 1-2. Bailey with the scoop to end the inning, but what a big inning it was for Arkansas. Their bats have awakened.
Big home run by Gamble, big home run by Gibson. Arkansas on top.
Arkansas with back-to-back homers are up 4-0 as we go to the second. And Missouri won the first 2 games of this series convincingly, even though they didn't have Abby George in their lineup. You look at the numbers for her, and she is out. They have not told us what the injury is, but it appears to be a left hand injury that she hurt in practice.
Well, and that batting average leads Missouri's offense, and so her out of the lineup, a big miss for them in this series.
Starting right fielder, the senior from St. Louis, 33 hits on the season, 32 of them for singles, but hitting .458. Burnside from her knees tried to bounce it, but unable to get it over in time to get Shomo, who has done a lot of damage for Missouri this weekend.
Yeah, Shomo has been impressive this weekend. Coming into this one, a double and a triple in game 1. But check out the defense over there in the 5-6 hole. Danielle Gibson keeping her leg on the bag, but too quick down the line. Throw not able to come out with much force.
Shomo in the series now 5 for 8. He's a double and a triple, and that infield single sets up Kim Wirt, the third baseman. Wirt leading this team in both home runs and runs driven in. And she came over from Hofstra, where she started her career, and that's where Larissa Anderson used to coach. Nice off speed.
Excuse me, there were a lot of naysayers when Wirt transferred over from Hofstra to Missouri, but she has proved them wrong. Playing in the SEC, she leads Missouri in home runs. She's got 14 this year and has played every game at Mizzou.
Grabbed over in foul territory by Gamble. Mary Half trying to salvage this game off to a terrific start. Set the side down in order in the first inning with 2 strikeouts. And now goes out into the circle with a 4-run cushion. Here's Kayla Kessinger. She has hit a home run in this series.
She missed the 2019 season because of 2 shoulder surgeries, came back in 2020 just hungry to play, even though Missouri in 2020 was not able to have postseason play. Now in 2021, they're looking for a long run in the postseason.
Good job by Kayla Green, as usual, to keep that bouncing pitch in front of her. Kayla Green, one of 8 seniors who were honored yesterday. It was senior day. This is Arkansas's final home series. Hopeful, I'm sure. I would imagine that they might have bid to host one of the regionals. Ogle Park, a nice ballpark in Fayetteville. 2-2 pitch. Another nice day for softball. People sitting out in the berm there and in the outfield. We saw some people getting there a couple hours early to get the prime real estate. That's lifted into left field, and it's grabbed by Hannah McEwen. And Arkansas's turn to show some leather in this game.
I think Arkansas came into this one a little bit angry, being disrespected at home. Hannah McEwen with a nice slide, gets the catch and keeps the runner off of second base as well.
Leadoff single by Shomo, and she has not moved an inch from first base. Emma Robbie batting 7th, the first baseman for the Tigers. She had been in a bit of a hitting lull, as her coach calls it. But has gotten a couple hits there. I love you very rarely when we talk to coaches hear the word slump. I hear lull a lot more, not slump.
That's right. Well, you don't want to get in the hitter's head, even if it is subliminally, right? But last year hit 197. This year improved average up to 283 coming into this one.
Marisa Anderson, third year after being the head coach at Hofstra for 4 years, previously 13 years as an assistant. Yeah, that's a strike. Robbie taken all the way on the 3-0. That is up and out of the zone. The 2-out walk puts 2 on for the Tigers. It's the first walk given up by half. Now the number 8 hitter, Kendall Bailey, has homered in each of the first 2 games of this series.
4 for 8 on the weekend, 2 home runs. I mean, she has absolutely lit it up at the plate.
Bailey is another player who has dramatically increased her average as her career has gone on. Shomo at second, Robbie at first.
There's that rise ball up and out of the zone. Missouri going to have to really stay disciplined on that one. Even though they've got a 4-run deficit, they've got to stay off that rise ball. That's where
it's tempting though, right?
Oh, it's so hard to lay off. Now don't get me wrong, it's easier to lay off when the ball is up at your eyes or at your forehead. So Mary Half has the ability to throw that rise ball to different levels. So when she's ahead 0-2 in the count, you're going to see that rise ball much higher in the zone, but she will go back to it and trusts it when she falls behind.
Hoping you'll chase out of the zone. 2-2. That one is up. A little half swing. Bailey pops it up. Kayla Green handles it to end the inning. Missouri strands 2.
Arkansas off to a huge first inning, matching their game totals for hits in the first inning. They had 4 hits, but 2 of them were big home runs. The first one by Gamble, the second one by Gibson, and it gives them the 4-0 lead.
Arkansas second in the nation in home runs. Oklahoma leading the way. And that was the 9th time this season, that Arkansas has hit back-to-back home runs. And their season total now sits at 86. And this is an incredible graphic, Jenny. 9 teams in this conference have hit fewer home runs than the Big Four for Arkansas.
Yeah, 63 home runs between those 4 hitters. 9 SEC teams have not reached that mark combined. Well, not all the teams combined, but their lineups combined. So right. Those 4 hitters for Arkansas, so dangerous, and you see them right in a row.
And Gibson hit her 15th of the season earlier in this game. Mcewen started things off with a walk in the first inning, got underneath that one. Shomo handles it for the first out of the second inning. And now Braxton Burnside, like the starting pitcher tonight, Mary Half. Burnside is one of the top 25 finalists for the National Player of the Year. Started her career at Missouri. Played there for a couple of years where she was not a big power hitter. But boy, things certainly have changed in her senior year at Arkansas.
You're right. 15 home runs in her first 2 seasons at Missouri, but then check out the numbers, how they've climbed. She had 5 last year in 2020 in that shortened season and 23 this year.
Burnside before the series said that she wasn't really gunning for Missouri, didn't say that at all, said it was just going to be a little weird to play the team that she used to play for. She's an Arkansas native who always wanted to be a Razorback, but they didn't recruit her. Burnside gets her first hit of the series.
And she's just ahead of it. This ball on the outside corner and also mixed speeds, a little bit slower. She's ahead of it, but so strong. Powers this one to the outfield. An easy base hit for Braxton Burnside. Like you said, Pam, her first one of the weekend.
So Braxton on first with 1 away for Gamble, who hit the 3-run homer to get things started in the first inning. Gamble again moved from leadoff to the 3rd spot, and that worked out perfectly in the first inning for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, as a coach, when that happens, it makes you look so smart. But that's actually one of the things that Coach Deifel talked to us about, how Hannah Mcewen is the best leadoff in the country. And so putting her back up there, moving Gamble down behind Braxton Burnside, really has helped out Arkansas.
Gamble gets her second hit. Burnside, aggressive base running, gets to 3rd. Ball got away, but was backed up nicely by Weber. So Gamble's 2 for 2.
Well, Gamble is just one of the most mature freshman power hitters that I see in the SEC. To see the way that she stands in the box so composed, drives it to the outfield, and then Braxton Burnside taking advantage, grabbing an extra 60 feet. Gamble right behind her, so now 2 runners in scoring position.
And you see the Arkansas runners, they have a sliding mitt on each hand that the runners get once they reach base. See Burnside holding on to hers. Because that's something, are you pro head first slide, or because you very rarely see feet first slides anymore? But the head first, that's the danger, right? Is you could hurt your hand.
It definitely is a issue when you're sliding in head first. Your fingers, your wrists, very vulnerable, getting jammed on the bag. So that's what those sliding mitts are for. But I always felt more aggressive sliding in head first to a tight play. But if I was going in hard, knowing that there may be contact, I would always go in feet first.
Feet first, feet flying, I bet.
Little swords on the bottom.
Danielle Gibson now. She hit a solo home run right after Gamble's 3-run shot in the first inning. Gibson's having a pretty good weekend. Nice to see her coming back. She had a concussion. She was out for a week, but just kind of wasn't herself for a while. But boy, the last week or so, she's looking like the Gibby they know in Fayetteville.
You mentioned that concussion. She was out for the Mississippi State series, so she missed those 3 games. Then at the Auburn series the very next weekend, went 0 for 12. Just was cleared from the concussion protocols, but just not back on her game, but then came back like gangbusters in game 1 in here.
That was eventually handled by Robbie. Burnside scores, and Arkansas gets on the board for the 5th time.
And while you like to see the long ball, that's a great job by Gibson. Drive the ball to the opposite side of the field, give an opportunity for the runner on 3rd base to advance. But check that out, they are 30-3 when scoring first this season.
Gamble advances to 3rd on the play. And 2 away for Lenny Malkin. Popped up to 2nd, her first time up. Malkin also with 15 home runs on the season.
when we talked to Deifel about Malkin, she said, you know, she led our team in 2020 with home run and an RBI and really found her confidence. She's let go, playing more relaxed, enjoying the game, and you're seeing that translate over into her numbers for the season.
Swings through the pitch by Schumacher. Again, Schumacher came in just 3 batters into this game in the first inning after Jordan Weber gave up back-to-back walks and the 3-run homer to Gamble. Gibson then gave up the home run to, Weber gave up the home run to Gibson. And 4 singles since then.
And Schumacher, the perfect dichotomy for this pitching staff. The beginning of the game, we saw the rise ball. They were taking advantage. It wasn't being called a strike, so they bring in the drop ball pitcher who did give up a home run and some hits, but she's been a little bit more successful on the zone.
Malkin able to shoot it through to drive in Gamble. Well, the hits just keep on coming for Arkansas, and here comes Kayla Green, who did this yesterday.
And it was a big home run. It was a no-doubter. She went down, she got it, stayed in her legs, really got through that pitch well, drove it to left field. It was a big hit for Arkansas. And remember, they only had 4, 2 in game 1, 2 in game 2. So that was 1 of the 2 hits yesterday.
They lost that game 10-1. Kayla was the entire offense. And Missouri's going to make yet another pitching change. So a new pitcher stepping in. We will have more on, it's Weber coming back in, the starter, when we return.
So Megan Schumacher is lifted. Jordan Weber was the starter in this one. She only faced 3 batters, gave up 2 walks and a home run, but found her way into the bullpen, worked on some things. So after those opening 12 pitches, we see the starter come back to the circle. Jordan Weber, a rise ball pitcher, will keep this one up in the zone. Could not find the strike zone in the beginning. Left one big. Hannah Gamble with the home run, and we'll try again in the circle here for Mizzou.
Facing Kayla Green, and remember in softball, starting pitchers can be lifted and come back in once. One of the nuances of softball versus baseball. Green very emotional yesterday in the pregame senior day ceremonies and collected herself enough to hit the home run, and she gets a little blooper. And taking the extra base, nice base running by Malkin.
Yeah, how do you greet a pitcher to the circle? Swing early, knowing she wants to get ahead. So this one just blooped into shallow left, kind of in no man's land. Even after the dive by Laird, Kim Wirt forgets that third base is open. So the pitcher, Weber, tries to get over there to third, but Arkansas very aggressive on the bases, and now 2 more runners in scoring position.
So give Green credit for her second single of the night, advanced to second on the throw. Here's Allie Monzo, who also singled. 6 runs on 8 hits already for Arkansas tonight. Swung through that off-speed pitch. Arkansas in this game 8 for 13. That's 6-15 so far. A couple of home runs. Turning things around. Monzo skyward. Robbie, final out. 2 more runs across the plate for Arkansas, now up 6-0 after 2. Courtney Deifel probably hasn't slept well the last couple of nights because of these numbers on your screen. Yes, they're up 6-0 after just 2 innings, but look at what happened in the first 2 games. Just stark comparisons between the 2 teams.
Check out the batting average of Arkansas in games 1 and 2, .089. 2 hits in each game 1 and game 2. Could not find a way to get their offense rolling. The Tigers really in control of games 1 and 2. That's why they were able to win. Those 5 home runs, devastating against the Arkansas pitching. Totally different story though tonight.
Arkansas losing 6-3 and then 10-1 yesterday. Mary Half in the circle. In those first 2 games, Arkansas hit .358, 24 hits. Half of them went for extra bases. 6 doubles, 5 home runs. Their ERA was 2, and they had 0 errors. So just a very complete, clean first couple of games for Missouri. But a very different story tonight.
Yeah, Missouri's defense still playing well, but some hiccups in the circle from Susie Allstaff, Jordan Weber in the first inning, and Schumacher coming into reliever.
Alex Hunnell goes down swinging. That's the 3rd strikeout for Half. First time through the order. Brooke Wilmus going to lead things off. This is what she did yesterday with the bases loaded.
Yeah, it was a jack. This one was left in her wheelhouse. She went down, grabbed it, drove it right back up the middle. A big grand slam.
Different story. That was a 10-1 win for Missouri yesterday. 10 runs on 13 hits. And now Wilmus, who was the first strikeout victim, comes up for the 2nd time tonight. This is a Missouri team. Sorry, I was just going to say that hits a lot of doubles, and Wilmus has 16 along with Danielle Gibson for Arkansas that leads the conference.
Yeah, a lot of extra base hits sitting at the top of the lineup for Mizzou, and it all comes down to how balanced they are in their stance.
And what do you mean by balanced?
So a balanced hitter is one who can stay in their legs. A changeup is a pitch that really mixes up the timing of a hitter, and when your timing is mixed up, you can find yourself gravitating towards that front leg, and then your swing's a little bit messed up. But these Missouri hitters have done a really good job of staying balanced in their legs even when a changeup is thrown, so that they don't come out of their swing and can still square it up.
Chris Malveaux, the associate head coach, is the hitting coach for this team as Courtney Deifel comes out to have a word with the ump. Anthony Williams over at first. Coach Deifel calls the pitches. You see Kayla Green then go into the wristband. And now a 3-1 on the way to Wilmus. Got under that one, chasing it down. Gibson at first. That's a nice play for the 2nd out.
We've been talking a lot about the NFL draft, Pam, lately, and that one was kind of one of those over-the-shoulder catches. Nice little receiver going out there in foul territory to ring that one in.
Not the easiest play in the world to make. Jenna Laird lined out. Mary Half stuck her glove out, made a nice play in the first inning. Laird from East Meadow, New York. Same neck of the woods where Larissa Anderson coached at Hofstra. Said Jenna was, a couple miles away from campus is where she lived. And actually saw her for the first time when Jenna was 9 years old.
And she came to Mizzou as just a slapper, short game only. Chris Malveaux, the assistant coach at Missouri, really worked hard to develop her swing, and now stepping in with 5 home runs this season.
Remember, she's a sophomore. There's Larissa Anderson. Not a happy face.
Oh, that one very focused.
She took this job when it was coming off some very turbulent seasons. And has turned things around in many ways. 2-2. Sent into right field. Drifting back. Monzo. A clean, nice 1-2-3 inning for Mary Happ. 6-0 Hogs. Arkansas is in first place in the SEC. They've never won a regular season or tournament title in the SEC. You see Florida just 1 game behind, Missouri 2.5, Alabama 3 back. Top 4 get the double bye in the SEC tournament, and just a couple of weekends left to play in the regular season.
And when you look at who they have coming up, Arkansas just 1 more SEC series to go. They play LSU away next weekend. Florida, though, Pam, who did you say they have coming up?
How about a big one next weekend? Florida plays at Missouri. That is big, obviously, both for the Gators and the Tigers. Florida finishes with A&M. Missouri finishes with Tennessee. Bama goes to Georgia, and then home to Ole Miss. But again, Florida at Missouri next weekend. That should tell us a whole lot as we head towards the finish line. Second baseman Huffine. The number 8 hitter in the lineup, up for the second time this evening, grounded out her first time up. Huffine goes down swinging to start off the third inning. It's the first strikeout by any Missouri batter tonight. Coming up Sunday, the Rally Cap crew breaks down the week that was in both softball and baseball. Highlights, analysis, interviews, all of it. Rally Cap this week at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Again, that is coming up on Sunday evening.
They've got a segment called Get Your Peanuts that shows off some of the highlight plays throughout the week.
Torres gets the bunt down, but it's fielded by Wirt, who is prepared, playing in at third.
Solid defense for Missouri, not only this season, but especially in this series. Now, granted, they haven't had a lot to defend in the first 2 games, but they have not committed an error in this series. And Marisa Anderson talks about how they pride themselves on making fundamental plays. They go back to fundamentals all the time to make sure that defense is the thing that does not lose the ball game for them.
Top of the order, Mcewen has walked and flown out. Yet she says, in fact, that she doesn't want to lose a single game because of fundamentals. Really loves coaching defense, has a pitching staff that doesn't strike out a lot of people, so the ball is in play. They played impeccable defense, especially in yesterday's Game 2 win. But you're right, Arkansas, not a lot of plays, not a lot of contact, just 4 combined hits for Arkansas in the first 2 games, as opposed to tonight, 8 hits, 6 runs. Wirt steps over in foul territory, and for the first time tonight, Arkansas is set down in order. They're up 6-0 after 3.
Watch me do what I do. I'm in charge. I make the rules. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to prove. Yeah, I'm in charge. Yeah, I run this move. Ready, set, strike.
Yes, it is coming. The SEC tournament on ESPN, and some SEC news. This was a huge announcement. Kim Mulkey won 3 championships as the head women's basketball coach at Baylor, is coming home to her home state and will take over at LSU. Her son Kramer played at LSU, now in the Cardinals organization. But Jenny, this is just huge.
Well, she's from Louisiana originally, but to put it in perspective, this would be like Mike Candrea leaving Arizona to coach somewhere else, or Patty Gasso leaving Oklahoma to coach somewhere else. Just a huge pickup for LSU. Unexpected to see Kim Mulkey leaving Baylor.
Leadoff hit in the 4th inning for Hattie Moore, with Arkansas leading 6-0. Mary Haff, the starter in the circle. Yeah, it was a surprise to a lot of people, but I kind of had a feeling just because of the Louisiana connection that might be the one that might entice her out. And you never know. Kim Mulkey is maybe the most competitive person I've ever been around, and it's a new challenge. LSU has been kind of, middling over the last several seasons, and she'll see if she can build a program there like she did at Baylor.
Well, and she's seasoned on all different levels. She won a national championship as a player at Louisiana Tech, also as an assistant at Louisiana Tech, and then bringing home 3 as a head coach at Baylor. So LSU, that's a huge pickup for them.
She was also an excellent youth baseball player. Her daughter Mackenzie was on the softball team at Baylor for a season. So big news in the SEC. Cassidy Chaumont, infield single back in the 1st inning, continuing her tear in this weekend series. The transfer, speaking of Louisiana, here's a Louisiana kid who went to Louisiana in Lafayette. Redshirted last year. And was handled by Torres out in center. And a few times they've gotten Cassidy this weekend.
Yeah, Shomo's been on fire this weekend, being able to just step in, continually putting the ball in play. 4 for 7 coming into this game. That triple and double so big in game 1.
Boy, and she made a couple, talk about defense, she made a couple of sparkling plays out in left field yesterday in game 2.
They were amazing. Missouri had them on their Instagram account. I went back and watched them.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I would put it everywhere. Here's Kim Wirt now. 3rd baseman for the Tigers.
And I had talked about how Kim Wirt had played every game at Mizzou, but she actually has sat out a couple this season. And when we asked Coach Anderson about it, she said, old bodies need rest too sometimes.
Old?
So, well, if you can call a 22, 23-year-old old, right? But they put so much wear and tear on their bodies. Kim Wirt, one of those seniors at Mizzou, giving her a little bit of a rest every now and again at Mizzou.
And Kim Wirt again was at Hofstra, where she was mostly a pinch hitter, and Coach Anderson talked about how happy she was that Kim was able to come over. And as you mentioned earlier in the game, a lot of people didn't think that going from Hofstra, with all due respect to Hofstra and their league, that might not translate in the big bad SEC. And Coach Anderson thrilled that Wirt has proved all those doubters wrong.
Well, and it kind of came through in her play back in 2020. She was pressing, trying to force it last year, just 3 home runs on the year, hit .295. And so the numbers didn't show it last year, but this year coming in a lot more relaxed, hitting .336 and 14 home runs.
Got a nice piece of that one. How about that? Kim Wirt with the power and the 2-run home run. That looked nice and relaxed.
Gotta love a swing that just flows like that. Ball up in her wheelhouse. Kim Wirt led the team in home runs before that one. But home run number 15 coming off the bat of Kim Wirt. And that's a good pitch by Mary Haff on the outside corner. But Wirt extends, gets through it, finds its way over the wall. And now Mizzou on the board with 2.
15 home runs, that breaks the tie on the team with more. Kayla Kessinger was retired on a nice play by Mcewen out and left on a liner her first time up. Kayla hit a home run earlier in the series.
Yeah, Kessinger had a tough first game, was 0 for 4 in that one, but then in game 2, found her swing again, a little bit more disciplined on the plate, went 2 for 4 in game 2, and you already mentioned the home run that we saw. 1 of 4 home runs hit in game 2 yesterday.
And 4 home runs, just 1 off the 5 they hit in a series against Louisiana Monroe earlier this year. 5 home runs in a single game is the best that Missouri has ever done. And they had 4 of them yesterday. Very impressive 10-1 win. 1-2 pitch inside to Kessinger. It was Missouri kind of stealing Arkansas's thunder. They had been the power team in the first 2 games of the series with the home runs.
And Kessinger's kind of the opposite story of what Wirt did. So last year, Wirt was the one pressing, and this year a little bit more relaxed. Last year, Kessinger, very relaxed, led the team in batting average, had 6 home runs, 3 stolen bases. This year has fallen off a little bit, hitting just .291 coming into this one.
Stayed on that pitch and sends it into center. That's a 3rd hit given up by half in this inning. Saturday night, right here on the SEC Network, the 2nd game of a 3-game weekend series. A couple of top 15 teams, South Carolina and Ole Miss in Oxford. Coverage begins Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. SEC baseball also available on the ESPN app. Robbie, first pitch swinging, fouls it away.
Well, and SEC baseball is a lot like SEC softball. They've got 4 teams.
Big story for Arkansas. Autumn Storms is warming in the bullpen for the Razorbacks. Did not pitch at all in the first 2 games of this series. A little nicked up a little bit with an injury, and Autumn is getting loose.
And we were anticipating potentially seeing her as the starter in this game 3. We had not seen her in game 1 or game 2. But Coach Deifel has been conservatively keeping an eye on her, nursing some of those injuries that you talked about. We have not seen her consistently in the circle for Arkansas.
Autumn Storms is such an interesting contrast to Mary Half, the 2 who have gotten most of the starts for this team. Half very even-keeled. Autumn Storms very animated when she's in the circle. Both getting it done with different temperaments.
And not only are they different temperaments, but they throw very different pitches as well. Mary Half up in the zone, Autumn Storms hard and down in the zone. And so they complement each other so well.
Kendall Bailey, the number 8 hitter, up for the 2nd time. Popped up her first time, but has been productive in the first 2 games. Solo home run in each of the first 2. That one's pounded on the ground to Burnside. 2nd out. Away and none on for Alex Hunold, the number 9 hitter who struck out. After the pair of strikeouts this evening. Check that, 3 strikeouts for Half. You see her line starting for the 2nd time this weekend. Burnside again for the 3rd out, but 2 long flies for Missouri gets them right back in this game.
Huge home runs, number 15 by Kim Wirt and number 6 by Emma Robbie. This score is getting closer.
I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he's like, okay, you know, like, where do you think you would want to go? And I'm like, I don't want to leave the SEC if it's possible. And I said, I think I can only see myself at Arkansas.
Yeah, Braxton Burnside from Paragould, Arkansas, went to Missouri her first 2 years. We talked about, she wasn't really recruited at all. Said she got a letter when she was in middle school. And Courtney Deifel said that she was the one that, because she had already committed when Courtney got the job. Courtney was like, this is the one that got away. And she said that it took her no time at all when Burnside went into the transfer portal. And boy, her career has flourished since coming home. Braxton Burnside doing Braxton Burnside things. Hit the home run. She's back.
There's the smile that we have not seen in this one. She's had a really rough go in games 1 and 2, but that's the Braxton Burnside that everybody shows up to see. Check it out. Oh, just stays in her legs so well. Drives hands, keeps her eyes back behind that ball. Dad comes away with the snag out there in left field. But Braxton Burnside, one of the conversations that you and I have, Pam, off the air a lot of times is, why do they keep throwing to Braxton Burnside? We saw the walk-off win by home run to Braxton Burnside in their midweek and extra innings. I mean, in that situation, 100% I walk Braxton Burnside, but in this series, she has been hitless. They kept her off the bases yesterday, but that's the Braxton Burnside. Welcome back.
So now Weber, who goes out for the second time today, started the game, went out for Schumacher, lifted again. A new Missouri pitcher when we come back, now 7-4 Arkansas. Vibe very different in the dugout now for Arkansas. Their bats have come alive. 3 home runs tonight. Burnside just hit her 24th, so now they're building.
65 home
Thank
runs.
you.
You were doing math. 65
Poorly.
home runs for the Razorbacks. And if you think about it, Pam, think about how that compares with Missouri. They've hit 2 tonight, so Missouri sits at 68. While those 4 hitters combined for 65. I mean, just the power that sits in that lineup for Arkansas, so dangerous.
3 home runs tonight. Burnside 2 for 2 with the walk, and now Hannah Gamble facing Emma Nichols, the 3rd pitcher we've seen for the Tigers this evening.
Nichols actually came in and relieved Jordan Weber in game 1. And she's a different look than Schumacher and Weber as well. A lot slower, down in the zone. And just a really good reliever from the left side.
Yep, the only lefty that they've been using this year. Has 7 saves. Anderson calls her closer and top reliever. She's behind 3-1 to Gamble, who hit a 3-run homer in the first inning and then singled and scored in the second. I think she might hit a 3rd again in their next game. I have a feeling this lineup might stick. Full count, went down and got it, and it's handled by Bailey, who's a really solid second baseman.
Bailey actually in the lineup because of her defense. Coach Anderson says that she's the quarterback of the infield. When they take her out, there's just a lull. She's always talking, communicating with not just the infielders, but the outfielders as well. And she says her batting average may not be where we want it to be, but I can't take her out of my lineup because I need her defensively.
Still a 300 hitter this season. Take that, certainly having a very good year at the plate, along with playing so well at second base. Danielle Gibson, solo home run, and then another RBI on a ground out in her second at bat. Second base a good position to play for leaders?
Is
What do you
second
think?
base a good place to play for leaders? Typically, you see it at shortstop, right? They're more of a bull in a china shop, a little bit more vocal, a little bit more aggressive. Second baseman can often be a little bit more reserved.
You know, I was asking specifically about you when you played
Yes.
second at Arizona.
Well, and it took me time to
Were you
transition.
reserved?
I was a shortstop, and so it took me some time to transition to the other side of the field. I mean, playing on the other side of second base gives a whole different look to the game. Different kinds of power, different kinds of spin, and different things that you're responsible for covering. And I'll go ahead and say it. We've talked about it before, but a shortstop is often very aggressive and charges hard through everything. And a second baseman can often be called a shortstop with brains. That's not a nice way to say it, but it really comes down to, at shortstop, you have to be overly aggressive in a lot of different angles. Shortstop, or at second base, you've got to play things differently.
At shortstop, the majority of hitters being right-handed, you're going to get a lot more shots typically sent your way. And second base, when you charge, you have to be careful, right, to stay balanced, because if you're charging too much, you're obviously going away from first, whereas if a shortstop is charging, they're going towards first.
Well, and I think everybody remembers that Kelsey Stewart play. She played second base at Florida, the behind-the-back toss over to first base. So amazing. But it's one of those plays you definitely have to practice, because there's a lot of times that you charge a slow roller and you're in front of first base. How do you get the out at first if it's a slapper or someone really charging hard down the line? So at second base, you can play deep, but when there's a slapper up, you've got to creep towards the baseline, because you've got a lot of different options for coverages.
Full count, going down and getting it. That's a nice at bat for Gibson. The ball might not have been in the strike zone, still was able to get her second hit of the night.
And it's so good to see Danielle Gibson back in the form that we know her to be. That concussion really sent a ripple through her offensive game. She played fine defensively, and she was fine physically. She was cleared from that concussion when she came back. But look at these numbers for Arkansas.
Especially considering in the first two games, they scored 4 runs on 4 hits. Very different. Got 3 home runs tonight. Malkin almost got hit.
Yeah, Malcolm played that like I did. I always jumped out of the way, but anymore you see hitters standing in there and wearing it.
You don't want to give up your at bat though, right?
And Malcolm the same way.
Yep. Don't take the bat out of my hands.
Well, and the rule has changed as well. Those balls that come inside, I mean, granted, I played back when dinosaurs walked the earth, but you had to get out of the way when you had to make an attempt to get out of the way. The rule has changed. You do not have to make an attempt. If the ball is in the batter's box, you can wear it and take first base. You do not have to make an attempt to get out of the way.
That one is popped up. Going back, Bailey, the second baseman. 2 away. She's pretty good, isn't she, at second base there?
She's really smooth. She takes a great first step. I mean, that's what defense is. It's being able to read a ball off the bat, take the right angle, get a great drop step on those balls that go back, and also communication between your infielders and outfielders to be able to reel those in without any kind of collisions. So you've got to have great communication on defense as well.
Now Kayla Green, it was a couple of singles this evening. Veteran catcher from Southern California.
We talked to Courtney Deifel about Kayla Green's offensive production, and she said she's at her best when she's 90% in the moment and 10% processing. And so when you see those swings on pitches that are outside of the zone like that last one, that's when you're starting to get it, that's when you get in your head. You've got to shake that and then attack the next pitch like that one didn't even happen.
Courtney Deifel was a catcher herself at Cal. Catchers kind of like point guards who become coaches in basketball, right? They typically, because the game's in front of them, they have to think the game. You think they kind of have a propensity to be good coaches?
They're the field general. They're making all the calls back there behind the dish.
Bailey that time, one of the few balls she was not able to get to. Kayla Green is 3 for 3 tonight.
I would say that was she's 90% in the moment tonight. She's doing such a good job of just squaring things up. Squeaks this one just past the dive of Kendall Bailey, who had been squeezing her up the middle just a little bit. Finds the grass and keeps this inning alive for Arkansas.
I'm almost surprised when Bailey doesn't make a play, but you're right. Kayla Green seems to be dialed in. A homer yesterday, 3 for 3 this evening. 2 on now for Ali Monzo, who has one of 11 Arkansas hits.
Monzo was not an everyday starter when this season began, but kind of worked her way into the lineup during the Woo Pig Classic. Had a hit in 4 of the 5 games and has now found her way to be the starting DP for Arkansas.
She goes down 0-2. Gibson at second, Green at first. Ooh.
That's a pretty pitch. I think she got away with one there. A little off speed. Nice pitch by Nichols.
On the 2-2, Monzo spoils it. Arkansas has scored in every inning except the third when they went down in order.
This is a good battle by Monzo heading into the 7th pitch of this at-bat. Typically a quality at-bat, which is a statistic that most schools around the country keep. Quality at-bat is notched at 8 pitches in an at-bat or a solid hit.
Now the count goes full. Moore able to keep it in front of her. Here is pitch number 8 to Monzo.
only imagine how frustrating this is as a pitcher in the circle throwing to Monzo in the batter's box. But I tell you what, when I would have an at-bat like this, it was one of my favorites. Like, okay, throw me something else. Let's go. I'll foul that off. All right, now throw me something else. And I would gain confidence as the at-bat went on, knowing that I was seeing it well and just keeping myself alive.
She's fouled off 5 pitches in this at-bat. And that misses. Terrific discipline by Monzo to load the bases.
That is just an awesome at-bat to get down 0-2 and fight all the way back. Beautiful at-bat for the right fielder, Monzo.
So the bases are loaded. Keely Huffine is due up, and she will bat. Huffine struck out her last time up, is 0 for in this series. I have to say, I'm a little surprised that Coach Deifel did not pinch hit for Huffine, not just hitless in this series, but she has 17 hits on the year and 32 strikeouts now. But trying to keeping Huffine in this situation. She has not gotten a hit with the bases loaded this year. Did not go around.
She's been in big moments. She had a big hit off Shelby Lowe in the Auburn series, a walk-off against Ole Miss. I mean, she's been in these tough situations before and come through.
Takes strike 2. Two-two with the bases loaded, 2 away. And Huffine hits it to short, the flip over to third, and the out has been recorded. Jenna Laird flipped it over to Wirt to retire Green, who begs to differ.
Yeah, Pam, I'm on the same train of thought. Oh, maybe she did have it. I thought she jumped and caught it, but over there at third base, Callie Young sees it correctly. Wirt had it in her glove, got the out. Arkansas keeps the 3-run lead. We are in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where defense is keeping this one close. That was a tough play over there on third. Arkansas had the bases loaded. Kim Wirt retreats, catches that ball. It looked in real time as though she was off the bag when she received the ball. But as we slow it down, Callie Young, the third base umpire, got it right. A great call. It ended the inning, and Arkansas is up 7-4.
Courtney Deifel was right there coaching third and had some questions about that play, but it was very athletic both on Laird and Wirt's part. Wirt apparently did get her toe down on the bag to save a run. As we go to the top of the 5th inning, Pam Ward and Jenny Dalton-Hill joining you. Game 3 of this series, Missouri taking the first 2 against number 6 Arkansas. Missouri has never, as in never, swept a top 10 team in a 3-game series, and they'll need a comeback in order to complete it here. Wilmus to Torres. Arkansas, their highest ranking ever at number 6, first place so far in the SEC, trying to win their first SEC regular season crown. Jenna Laird made that nice play at short to flip it over to end the inning in the last half inning. Coming up. This Missouri team, there you see, they've trying to pull this off for the first time. They have had 4 two-game series sweeps against top 10 opponents in their history, but have not done it in at least a 3-game series. Larissa Anderson, head coach in her 3rd year now. Comes from a bat and ball family. Her husband Patrick is a baseball coach. He was at Hofstra in the Nationals organization for a while, now coaching in a new Appalachian League coming up. That one's hit squarely towards the gap, off the wall. And a solid double for Laird.
Yeah, another ball up in the zone, just kind of sits, and Laird capitalizes. Doesn't even look like she puts a hard swing on it. But this is the advantage of playing at home. Arkansas knows how hard this ball will ricochet off the wall, so they play it back just at the right spot, but unable to keep Laird off second.
That's the 12th double for Laird. Missouri leading the SEC in doubles. First pitch swinging. Hattie Moore, the catcher, who singled and scored her last time up. For Missouri, that is their 82nd double of the year, 16 more than Tennessee, who is the 2nd most doubles in the SEC. So very much a gap-to-gap kind of team. Marisa Anderson's philosophy: hit the ball hard, square up and smoke it. And only, was it Troy, has more doubles than Missouri in the entire country.
Yeah, one of the things that Coach Anderson says about their hitting is we will not be late. We really put a focus on being on time with that toe tap or that toe touch out on the front side. Hitting is all about being on time. So if you can make sure that you stay stacked and loaded on that backside in your load phase of your swing, it gives you an opportunity to get to toe touch on time rather than being fooled by those changeups. And that's been a real point of emphasis for them offensively this year.
Good enough to have the best batting average in the SEC this season. 1-2 pitch on the way to Moore. Got under it. Nice running attempt, but I think Mcewen might have overrun it.
Yeah, you know she's not happy about that one. That was a catchable ball for her, but she was a little bit timid as she approached the wall. It lands in foul territory, but she takes her eye off of it to find the wall, had her a little bit distracted.
Second chance now for Moore. Boy. That was close.
I don't know. I think that one was low. I think that's a really good call by Chad Sears back there behind the dish. It's a beautiful pitcher's pitch that you want her to swing at, but I think that's a really good call. Just a little low.
And it shows again. Kayla Green is so good at framing pitches, keeping her glove relatively quiet so it doesn't look overtly obvious, which is probably redundant, but she did a really good job of framing that.
Well, and we had on the 7 Innings podcast, we actually will be putting out a special series that we did with Christy Cornwell, who is the head of umpires in the SEC, and she actually talks about what catchers can do to help out an umpire and really sell pitches to be more effective back there behind the plate.
Pounded in the ground to Gibson, who retires Moore for the second out. Laird advances to third.
Coach Anderson came into Mizzou, and they had a culture problem. That was one of the biggest reasons they needed to make the change at Mizzou. They were a successful program, but just could not find the right fit to build these young ladies' self-esteem and their confidence. And Anderson, the perfect fit to be able to come in. She serves on the NFCA board of directors and actually ran the ethics committee. And this is one of the things that she brought in. She said, if I can change anything, I know I can change a culture. So it's adapted from the John Wooden pyramid of success. And she has changed the culture. Sorry, Pam.
Certainly the culture's changed. They're a good club. Shomo pops out to end the inning, and Strand Laird at third.
Talk about Kayla Kowalik enough at all. I don't even think if we've talked about her.
How far can you go with a one-headed monster?
They gave every other team hope that they can beat Oklahoma.
Too many benevolent balls, too many walks.
If you're intimidated, you're done.
Amanda, if you strike me out once, you're not going to do it again.
This week's episode titled after this man, Tate Denton. He's my little buddy, 6-year-old T-baller here at South Lexington Little League, and he hits home runs, and he calls himself the Dinger Swinger. We talked about big home run hitters this week on the podcast, and Beth Mcewen said, you know what? That's the name. We're going to call this episode Dinger Swingers. And so a little shout out to my buddy Tate. Thanks for naming the podcast this week, bud.
Seventh Inning Podcast, taping that, every week?
Every Wednesday, comes out to you every Thursday for the look ahead and then the talk behind about what we saw in the weekend before. And as the season winds down, you can expect to see a lot of postseason projections and talk about who we see hosting regionals, so make sure you give it a listen. Stay up to date.
Rylan Hedgecock leading off. Pinch hitting for Sam Torres. Thrown out by Laird to start the fifth inning. Yeah, the postseason fast approaching. Just a couple more weekends left in the regular season before all the tournaments start. ESPN will be all over the conference tournaments. Every pitch of the SEC tournament. Anna Mcewen leading off today, again for the first time since early April. And they got out of the gate quickly. If you're just joining us, Arkansas put up 4 in the first inning. 3-run home run by Gamble. Subsequent home runs by Braxton Burnside, Danielle Gibson for Coach Deifel. Dinger Swingers, right?
Dinger Swingers, and it makes me laugh when I say it, but that's what he called himself, and it made me think about, because we talked about home run hitters this week in our Shag and Stat part of the lineup. We talked to Coach Deifel about this power surge that they've seen this year. This team, most home runs in Arkansas history for a single season. We said, are you training with the purpose to hit it out? She said, no, we just train to hit the ball hard. We swing with intent. We challenge our hitters daily. We do vision training. We use virtual reality. And a home run is just actually the result of a really good swing. They've trained up confident hitters here in Arkansas.
They've obliterated their old season record for home runs and trail only Oklahoma in the country. 3 more homers today. Oklahoma, by the way, had an 18-run inning against Texas Tech this weekend. Throw that out there.
That's just jaw-dropping. But they did see their winning streak come to an end by Georgia.
Mcewen lays off. Count is full. Emma Nichols in the circle, the third Missouri pitcher we've seen tonight, which is par for the course. used 2 yesterday, which was unusual for them. Lauren Crings came in and was really good over 5 innings of no-hit relief in the 10-1 victory. And there you see now 86. So 21 more home runs, and the previous record was still lots of softball to play, and another good at bat for Mcewen, second time she's walked tonight.
Well, and free passes are the nemesis for this pitching staff. In game 1, Missouri gave up 7 walks. Game 2, they gave up just 1. So here in this one, the free pass has been the difference maker. Those first 2 batters of the game, Mcewen and Burnside walked, and then the huge Gamble home run. They were behind 3-0 in just the first 3 batters.
Burnside homered her last time up. They start her off with an off-speed pitch. Braxton's bat coming alive with a couple of hits today after going hitless in the first 2 games of the series. And Burnside really does have that game face on all the time, but it broke out, as you mentioned, in that big smile after that home run.
Well, if that's going to be a strike, I would throw it right back there multiple times. That's going to be tough to lift out of the ballpark.
0-2 to Burnside. Sends that one into center, and a nice sliding catch by Wilmus.
Just ahead of it, Burnside gets it off the end of the bat, but look at that nice figure 4 slide out there for the catch. Wilmus, great defender out there in center.
Coach Anderson says it's their bread and butter, their defense, and they have been really good all weekend long. Okay, figure 4. That's a new one for me.
Well, when you think about what a number 4 looks like, when you tuck one of your legs underneath, it makes a number 4.
I was not aware that's what that was called.
Maybe it's not. That's what I grew up calling it.
So that was an example of a good fundamental defensive play.
Well, keeping the ball in front, making sure that your corners are backing you up in case that ball does get by.
And the figure 4.
Well,
you don't want it to flop into a figure 5. That would be disaster.
I don't know how you make a number 5. Maybe that's just arms flailing.
Yeah. Gamble moved to the 3rd slot tonight with the 3-run homer to get the party going in the first inning. I think the psyche of the players for Arkansas has to be totally different. Even if they lose this game, certainly that would not be good if they lost this game, but just the way they're swinging the bats, very different from the first couple of innings. You don't want doubt to creep in, I would think, particularly this late in the season.
Well, the thing that's encouraging for Mizzou, after falling behind 6-0, they really rallied in that 4th inning. 4 big runs to get them back in this game. Did allow another one to squeak across in the bottom of half of that inning. So they sit 3 runs down, but this is a team that has been trained to fight. They are not going to go down quietly.
Hit solidly up the middle by Gamble. Mcewen now at second with 2 away. That is the 3rd hit for Gamble.
Gamble definitely not excited about the performance she had put together. But I think the approach is much different when you sit in the 3rd spot in the lineup rather than the leadoff. It takes a little bit of pressure off. Gamble is a freshman, very poised, very mature, but has done well in the leadoff spot, but had been not performing up to that potential in this series. So moving her down to that 3 slot has given her a little bit more confidence. She was hitless coming into this one. 0 for 4 in games 1 and 2.
3 for 4 tonight. Danielle Gibson. Home run, single, RBI ground out. And I'm still amazed at Gamble. She had surgery on her broken right hand on March 11th. Not just coming back from a broken hand, surgery on it, and thriving. And she's a puppy freshman. That's all impressive.
I think my favorite thing about that story, though, is when she came out of surgery, she was still under, anesthesia, and they still had some pretty big pain meds. And so after a couple of days, those pain meds were making it not hurt. She said, "Coach, I'm good to go. Everything's better. I can play." And Coach Deifel said, "Hey, slow down. We're going to make sure this is healed completely." And her first home run back, home run.
Yep. Against Missouri State, went 3 for 3 in that first at bat, was a home run.
Well, the reason she was able to hit a home run in that one was because when she was down healing from that surgery, she was in the bullpen watching from the batter's box, tracking pitches. She was doing everything she could that didn't involve that hand. Very mature approach, and was actually able to come back 4 days early from their projected start date because of how well she took care of herself, and was proud of herself for being able to beat the return date.
She was out less than 4 weeks. Gibson under Bailey's glove. The throw home, not in time. Mcewen comes around.
And Danielle Gibson letting you know that she is back at 100%. Was able to hit that home run in her first at bat, but getting hit after hit, using the ground, using all the field, back up the middle, really good hit, drives in another run.
Gibson 3 for 4 now with 3 runs driven in. Gets the lead to 8-4. And another pitching change for Missouri. Nichols goes out. More on the new pitcher when we come back. So now the fourth pitcher for Missouri, Lauren Crings, comes in. Pitched well in relief yesterday.
Crings threw 5 1/3 in relief of Schumacher yesterday, but will step in here. And she's more of a power pitcher, so a very different look than what we saw out of Nichols, who threw very slow. Now a little bit more of a power pitcher. Most effective, though, with her movement around 68 miles an hour.
Faces Lenny Malkin, who is 1 for 3 with an RBI single. Nichols an inning and 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, and is responsible for the 2 runners on base. Crings is the pitcher who had her motion changed last week, which still blows my mind. And then she came out and pitched so well yesterday, and her speed has pretty much stayed where it was. Goes upstairs to get Malkin. So Crings delivers, but another run crosses the plate for Arkansas. They're up 8-4 after 5. Welcome back as we say hello again to Rally. This is Larissa Anderson's black lab pup that she got during quarantine, and her husband Patrick. They're training the dog already, training the little puppy, and she has started. They want her to be a bat dog, and they started her on the smaller bat. A video of that won't make this show, but she was so proud of Rally, as well she should, and Rally's she's going to become a little bit of a star, I think.
Well, and Coach Anderson sent me videos of that today, but there's Coach Deifel's dogs, Coda and Zoe. When we asked Coach Deifel, are one of them going to become a bat dog? She said, maybe Zoe, but Coda, yeah, I don't trust her to do, she doesn't want to do anything that I have to say, but both of those rescue pups in her family as well.
Yep, she said that Coda does not have the discipline to be a bat dog. But So equal time. We got the puppies on, but yeah, Riley is training to do the all-important job of helping out on the field.
When I got a video of Riley today training with a miniature bat, I apologize to you, Pam, for not getting that on air. It's my fault. I'm so sorry. But just so the audience knows, Riley is looking at getting her own Instagram page. So you can follow Riley the quarantine pup. Coach Anderson said, I'm going to have to get her own page. She's getting to be, you know, this star. And so.
As well she should.
She's beautiful.
Chilling out in center field. Coach Anderson's team trailing 8-4 as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Mary Half starting and has stayed in the entire way. He needed a nice long outing, I think, from Half today after the first couple of days where they were swept. Half, the redshirt junior from Winter Haven, Florida. When she was a freshman, set an Arkansas single-season record with 29 wins. That was second in the entire country, and has just been really solid. If she holds on to this lead, it will be her 21st win of the year this season.
I think the numbers that are so impressive for me for Mary Half is out of those 150 innings that she's thrown, she's got 159 walks coming into this one. I mean 159 strikeouts, excuse me, coming into this game. That would not be impressive.
No, even I know that wouldn't be good. Wirt just flew out to Torres in center. And Mary Half, along with Braxton Burnside, who has hit a home run, among the 9 SEC players who are in the top 25 USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year running. Says a lot about the SEC and a lot about these two talented student athletes at Arkansas.
And it runs the gamut of all the different position players. You've got outfielders on that list. You've got speed on that list. You've got power hitters on that list. You've got pitchers on that list. I mean, it just comes down to how do they do through the postseason to garner those votes.
Kayla Kessinger, 1 for 2 this evening. Lifts that one. Burnside gives way to Mcewen in left for the second out.
That's where communication's so important, to be able to call it early enough that the other defender can give way.
I think Burnside's the kind of player who would want to go out and kind of grab everything. Nice sunset here in Fayetteville this evening. Emma Robbie hit a 2-run homer. There were 2 2-run homers by Wirt and then Robbie. All 4 runs for Missouri coming in the 4th inning. 73 degrees right now in Fayetteville. Just a perfect night for softball. Wind blowing out a bit towards the outfield. Half in this inning has gone over the 100 pitch mark in this game. Arkansas does not have a midweek game this week. They will play at LSU, and that's it. They will be done in the regular season and look towards the SEC tournament.
And I don't know if that was intentional to leave that last weekend open before the SEC tournament, but I think it's a great idea, knowing that Storms might need a little bit more time to recoup, recover, not be pressured to come back for that weekend right before the SEC tournament.
2-2 pitch, just on the outside corner, doesn't get the call. That
is a beautiful pitch. I mean, it looks like it nips the corner. It's It's received really well, but you can see that as she receives it, it drags the hand off the plate, and sometimes that's all it takes for that call to not be made.
That's a foul ball. Huff is only, or Half, excuse me, is only retired the side in order once. That was back in the 3rd inning. Trying to do it again here in the 6th. Beautiful pitch, got it. We are back, bottom of the 6th inning coming up. Arkansas leading Missouri, as you see, 13 hits on the day, leading at 8-4. And what a difference a day makes. In the first 2 games of this series, Arkansas was 4 for 45. That's .089. Very different stories today, Jen.
Game 3, 13 for 28. They are hitting .464 in this game. They are 5 for 10. Or 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 8 for 16 with runners on. Just so much different offensively, and this is the Arkansas we were expecting coming into this series.
4 runs in the first, 2 runs in the second, single runs in the 4th and the 5th. Kayla Green, 3 for 3 this evening. Crings with the pitch, handled for Bailey, the first time they've retired Green tonight. And now Cesena comes in to pinch hit for Ali Monzo. And we expect Cesena to go out and play right field in the 7th inning. This is a switch that we often see with Coach Deifel.
When we asked Coach Deifel about that switch that we had been seeing later in the innings for Arkansas, she said it's more of a defensive shift. We know that Cesena can hit at the plate. We feel like she has a little bit better glove when we put her out there in the outfield.
Larissa, redshirt sophomore from Riverside, California. This is her first at bat of this series.
You don't really need rally caps when you're ahead, right?
No. Yeah, that's interesting. Lots of gloves. And do you believe those balloons, that balloon hat was made before the game, or was that something that would have been done in the dugout?
Oh, you're only supposed to use the things present in the dugout. But I'm going to say that was picked up before. Unless one of those managers is back there with a creating balloon animals. I don't know that that was done in the dugout.
And that's Ali Monzo wearing it. Cesena pinch hitting for Ali, she of the balloon hat. 0-2 pitch. This rally cap is something that's you don't see caps in softball much anymore.
No, you
hardly see visors.
Yeah, it's usually the visor thing, except for Sunday night when you get to watch rally cap, right?
Yes.
And pick up on those bat ball sports.
I'm talking about the real cap. You don't see them very often anymore in softball. Were you wearing caps, or were you a visor girl at Arizona?
You're going to laugh. So back in the 90s, it was all about the foam visor. You'd throw it in your bat bag and they'd come out all warped, but that was what we wore to
the foam visors,
protect
like you
us
see
from. Yeah,
with pensioners
those are real
down in
visors.
Florida.
Those are legit visors. We played with the, and every player from the 90s knows exactly what I'm talking about. It was a foam visor. You threw it in your bat bag after every game, and it came out, and it just had this like ripple in it every time you pull it out. But that was that was our uniform. We had one for every uniform, and hey, we thought we were cool, all right?
Did they have like the Arizona A on it, or were they just something you picked up on the street?
It was, if there was Amazon, it was probably an Amazon thing, but that's before Amazon.
Yeah.
But every player from the 90s knows exactly what I'm talking about. That was what we all wore. We didn't play in real visors.
And you'd wear them when they were jacked up. You wouldn't necessarily get a new one once they got a little wrinkled.
Well, here's the thing. I played in Arizona, so given an inning or two, the heat was going to make it, you know, warm enough to get back to the shape it needed to be.
Good at bat for Cesenia. Swings at one in the dirt, and then the throw down makes it official. More SEC softball coming your way next weekend. And it's Arkansas. Big series against LSU. Second game of a 3-game set. They finish up the series in the regular season Monday, a week from tonight on the SEC Network. SEC softball also available on the ESPN app all season. You can watch anywhere. That is the last series of the year for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, LSU played at Kentucky this past weekend, came away with the 2-1 series win. Kentucky with a big win on their Friday night matchup. But LSU comes back, wins the second 2 on Sunday in a doubleheader, and now faces Arkansas next weekend.
Huffine 0 for 3. Tries to get the bunt down. That's one of her specialties, but pounced nicely by Crings to retire the side. To the top of the 7th we go. Missouri needs at least 4 to keep this game going. M. Warden, foam rubber visor veteran Jenny Dalton Hill.
I'm never going to live that down now, am I?
Nor should you. Nor should you.
All right, all my 90s sisters need to back me up on this one.
I think they've come a long way. They now have these nice dry fit visors that they don't crumble. Bottom of the order, it's up. Now that's a visor.
Oh, those are legit. They're so cool. I am jealous, all right?
Bottom of the order, Bailey, Kendall, the 0 for 2, the second baseman. Mary Happ trying to come up with a complete game victory and salvage game 3. Keep Missouri from sweeping an SEC series of at least 3 games against a top 10 team for the first time. Half lets one fly.
And she can let it fly when she's ahead 0-2. Give it a shot. See how anxious these Missouri hitters are. Maybe you can get the swing and a miss. That one just a little too high.
Way to start. Breaking out Bailey, 5th K for half.
And it's a pitch up in the zone. Once it starts at your belt, you know that Happ is going to let this one ride up to your chin. It is so hard to catch up to. You've got to lay off of it, but that pitch just looks too good coming in.
Alex Honold 0 for 2. Freshman number 9 hitter. Squared that one up nicely. Solid single with one away in the 7th. And that brings Wilness up with a runner on. Woma's first pitch swinging, but it's out of play. Brooke is 0 for 3 tonight. And a double and a grand slam in yesterday's huge 10-1 win when Missouri had 13 hits. Arkansas again just 2 hits in each of the first 2 games. Tonight they have 13 hits. Off ahead 0-2 for the second straight batter. Rally visors for Missouri.
They hold their shape
very nicely. They actually have a logo on them and everything. Tapped. Burnside has to hurry, charged it, and held on to it. Smart play by Braxton. Loomis runs very well, so 2 on now.
On the outside, on the end of the bat, it slows it up. Braxton Burnside with the fake, trying to draw off the runner of second base, but Honnold stays in place. Missouri not going down quietly here in the top of the 7th.
Kind of thing you expect from this softball team from Missouri. Jenna Laird coming in, and that's it for Mary Half, who goes 6 1/3. Courtney Geisel going to the bullpen. Welcome back. Mary Half has been lifted after 115 pitches, 6 1/3 innings. Giving up the 4 runs, but a couple of runners on, and a welcome sight for Arkansas fans. Autumn Storms is pitching for the first time this weekend.
We have not seen Storms since April 18th against Georgia. She comes in with a much different look than Half. She's down in the zone, throws really hard, upper 60s, rolls a lot of ground balls. Just trying to get themselves out of this one, salvage a win.
Jenna Laird with 2 runners on. Laird doubled her last time off of Half. Storms with the best ERA on this staff. Missed a couple of weeks in March with a bad back. And Coach Steifel has been very conservative, very careful, cognizant of taking things slowly, making sure that her athletes are healthy for the long haul. Ooh, that's a 4-pitch walk to load the bases.
Well, and a healthy Autumn Storms only bodes well for Arkansas as they head to the postseason. Storms and Half back-to-back are definitely dangerous. And so if they can have them through both healthy through the postseason, this number 6 ranked Arkansas squad going to be able to make a deep run in postseason play.
Well, Missouri is 1 swing away from tying this game. Hattie Moore has a single in 3 at-bats this evening, and she has some power, as you see, with 14 home runs.
She was tied with Kim Wirt in home runs, but then Kim edges her out in this one with that home run she hit in her second at bat back in the 4th inning.
She has thrown 6 pitches, all of them balls. Moore stings it, but right at Huffine, Arkansas turns the double play to end the game. The 4-6-3 Storms A little bit of a shaky start, but you got the ground ball. 13th double play turn by the Razorbacks this season, and they avoid the sweep. Taking this one 8-4. Mary Haff with her 21st win of the season. And Storms back in there for the Hogs.
Arkansas turning it on offensively, coming away with 13 hits in this one. That's the Arkansas bats we know and love. Missouri, though, coming away with the series win.
So Missouri takes the finale 8-4. They have one series left. That is next weekend at LSU. Missouri home to Florida. Coming up, big-time softball as the season winds down. For Jenny Dalton-Hill, I'm Pam Ward. Thanks to our crew in Fayetteville. Arkansas, the Fighting Courtney Deifels, win it by the final of 8-4.